Okay, guys, this session is about installing BH2 system using SWPM, HANA 1.0, and NetWeaver 7.4. Okay, so I'm gonna log into my system first. This is just to show you the installation part of it, right? I'm gonna log in as root. My password is welcome123. Okay, I'm in there. So before we start, I'm gonna show you some of the configurations on the Red Hat side of it. This OS is Red Hat 6.6 Enterprise Edition. How do you check? Here's the command, uname -a. This tells you. So this will help you downloading the software from SAP website, right? It's EL6 x86 64 edition, which is Red Hat 6.6 Enterprise Edition. Okay. After that, I will show you what's my host name. Okay. My host name is BW2 SAP HANA, right? What else? I need to show you my mount or my hard drive partition, how it is partitioned. So we go ds space -h. So as you can see, I have assigned about 300 gig to the root, 300 gig to a mount point called HANA, 200 gig to a mount point called HANA backup, and then 20 gig of a mount point for SAP mount, 100 gig for the software, 20 gig for another mount point, which is required by SAP is user SAP, right? So these are my mount points. Let me see. All right. So testing, yeah, it is recording. Okay. Okay. So now what are we doing here? So this is where you see this is one of my mount points, then user SAP, and then within user SAP, there's another mount point. This is my software. This is my SAP mount point, right? Everything is there. So what are we installing? So let's go to software. Okay. Okay. So this is where my software is. Let's go to BI. We're gonna install BI. Okay. So this is what we're installing first. Okay. It's a NetWeaver 7.4 SR2 installation export, right? When you install a so what's a BW? BW is a part of NetWeaver, right? So when you install a brand new system, it's nothing but a NetWeaver 7 point system, never NetWeaver 7.4 system, or whatever your NetWeaver version is. Okay. And then we will install the BI contents, which will be in the next video, and then the extension, which makes it a BI system, right? Here's my kernel, which I'm going to use. And this is, since I'm using HANADB 1.0, I need SAP HANA Platform Edition 1.0 SPS07 for my system. Okay, so sorry, I'm back. So here's my kernel. Here's the platform edition. This is the where we were going to be installing. These are the BI contents, right? Let's go back. I'm going to be using HANADB server right here. Okay, and let's switch to that. So as you can see, this is HANADB 1.0. You can see the platform edition is 1.0 SPS09, right? So we need to first install HANADB. Okay, so we're already there. And then we need to go to Platform Edition. So we'll go CD SAP HANA Platform Edition, right? All right. Okay. Once we're there, we will see the extraction. This is the number which will help you download from SAP website. This should be the number for HANA DB 1.0, and currently in the market 2.0 is out, but since I have the old one, I'll proceed with the installation. Okay, go to data units, and then over here we're gonna use this one. Okay, back again. Again, we're gonna use HDB LCM Linux, this one. Okay. Once in there, we'll see the file. We'll run the GUI based installation of HANADB. Okay. So we type this. This is how you execute /HDB LCM GUI, and make sure your X server is on mobile Xterm so the GUI can launch. Okay. So press enter. There's the GUI for HANA, and there you go. Okay, so you can see it is 1.0 edition of HANA database. It's going to install all these components. Okay, so for example, HANA database client is going to install HANA Studio, HANA Smart Data Access, all the good stuff, right? Okay. We're just going to click next here. This is a brand new installation, so we are just going to click on next. Okay. Over here, it shows the list of all the components. Just select all. So my server is a 32 GB RAM memory. It's only one processor, and about 1 terabyte of a hard drive is in there, right? On which all the mount points were there. So I can install all of these components easily. All right. So I'm going to click next. We're only going to choose a single host system. We're not going to run multiple hosts on one system, or you can, but if you have a high-end server where you have 160 GB RAM and quadruple processors and everything, but we cannot do that because of limited resources. So we're going to run single host system. Okay. See, it already picked up my host name automatically. This is the path where it's going to do the HANADB installation. Okay. So remember, I showed you this is already my mount point, and within my mount point is going to create another folder shared, and it's going to install HDB. So SAP HANA system ID, I will call it HDB, stands for HANADB. Instance number will be 00. Okay. Here, database mode, I'm going to choose multiple containers. For example, if I need to install additional application servers on one HANADB host, I can do that, right? That's why it is the option. And I'm just going to leave it here, custom. Okay. Otherwise, if you in real life, you would be doing development system, test system, production system. But since this is just for learning purposes, I'm going to leave it a custom system. My memory is set all the way to 31, which is about 32 GB, right? Okay. And just click next. Next is going to show you the location of your data volume and the log file, right? So again, it's going to go within the mount point. It's going to create a folder called data and HDB underneath that. then log in HDB, and all your logs are going to be there, right? So click next. See, BW2 SAP HANA is my host name. And then you click next. So this will be the SID HDB ADM for your HANADB, right? I'm going to give it a password. Welcome 123. Welcome 123. Make sure you remember this. Your HDB SID IAS, your username's user ID is going to be 1000. Okay. I mean, you're going to need this later on sometimes. This is where the shell is going to install. This is what the home directory is. You can change it to whatever you want from here, but I'm just going to leave it as is. Okay, I'm going to go next. It's going to create another user called system, which will be used by HANA Studio to access your system DB or your tenant DB later on. Okay, we're going to give it the same password. Welcome 123. Welcome 123. Okay, let's go next and click on install. There you go. This will take a little while, so I will pause the video. Once the installation is finished, I will resume the video. As you can see, installation is still going. We are almost there. And there you go. HANADB installation has just finished. Okay, it has installed all the components. You can view the logs. Just this one does not have any logs. It says no, it's not available. So that's fine. Just click on finish. And we come back to mobile stream, our connection. And okay, so at this point, HANADB is installed. So let me show you something. Since I'm logged in as a root right now, right? I will switch to the username which it had created for my HANADB, which was HDB80M, right? And there you go. Without asking me any password, it's switched. There's a reason because I'm logged in as root. From root, you can switch to any ID you want to without inputting the password. But if I disconnect this session and then do a brand new session and then start with HDB80M as my user ID, it will ask me for the password. So anyway, at this point, you will type in HDB info like this, press enter, and this will show you my HANADB is running right now. Okay, and we are done with HANADB installation. Now, let's start with application. The application we're going to install for now is going to be NetWeaver 7.4, and then in the other video, you will see the post installation steps where we will actually make it a BI system. Okay, so let's go. Let me get out of this user ID, go back to the root, type in exit. I'm back in the root now, so CD software. Okay. And okay. So this is the SWPM, which software provisioning manager version I'm using currently, right? It is 1.0 SP08. I know it's old. Today you have SP22, 25, you know, uh, SP22 is going to be web-based GUI. And let's start with this SWPM. All right. And we're here. Okay. So once in the SWPM folder, we are going to give it a string to run the software provisioning software. Okay, the string is going to be like this: SAP inst is host local using string compare is equal to true. SAP inst use host name, which is my host name, which is BW2 SAP HANA, right? Once I press enter, it will launch the GUI. There you go. Coming up. Okay. Once here, the very first thing we need to do is go to generic installation options. Okay. Choose your database, which is in my case SAP HANA database, right? And then go to preparations, operating system users and groups. We need to run this first. This will install the operating system users and the groups it needs. Okay. Click on that. Okay, this is for SAP host agent only. We don't need to do that right now, so we'll skip that part. Go next. Okay, it's asking for your system ID SID, which your SID for your application. Okay, so since I'm installing a BH2 system, I already have a BH1 system, so I will just type BH2, or you can call it whatever you want. Create OS accounts for your database. I don't need to, because when I was installing HANA, it already created an OS account for my HANADB, right? We are gonna do the installation based of ASABAP. Okay, I'm gonna click check that. Click next. It knows what my DB is. It's not max DB. It is HANADB. It's just not showing over here. Okay. So see, it created my application SID, which I mean the ID username, which is BH2ADM. I'm gonna give it a password. Welcome. 1, 2, 3. Welcome. 1, 2, 3. Okay. This is gonna be the group ID number. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, the user ID is missing, but by default, it assigns 501 to the user ID, which is going to be this user ID. Okay. Uh, anyway, we're going to leave everything rest as default and go next. Okay. We're going to click next. Now it's installing create users for SAP system, creating users for SAP systems. Okay. There you go. It was successful. It has finished. Everything looks good. Click OK. We are done with the first part of it. Using the same string which I wrote before, we're going to launch SWPM one more time. Okay. There you go. It launched again, right? Good. So next thing, what are we doing? We are installing SAP NetWeaver 7.4 support release 2. Okay. We go in there. We choose our HANADB. We're gonna do second thing. We're gonna run the preparation again, and we're gonna do a prerequisites check. Okay. Gonna click next. It over here is asking what is getting installed on your server. Okay, so first I'm going to choose database instance, which is my HANADB instance. Then primary application server, which I am now going to install. My central services instance, which will be installed on the same server. And I might want to add more additional application servers later on. So I will choose these options. It's going to do a check if these 4 options can be handled by the server and the kernel and everything or not. Okay, so we're going to click on next. There you go. It already knows I got SAP in memory computing engine. It's not showing you the version here, but it is actually 1.0. Okay, that is my database. Click next. It's gonna show you the list of what we chose before. It's all Unicode, right? Based on ABAP. These four things I want to basically, I'm checking if the server can handle that or not. Okay, I'll click next. It's asking for my kernel. In my case, yeah, it's asking for NetWeaver 7.40 SR2. But in my case, I'm going to click on browse, go to the software. I am going to go in BI ABAP server, and that's my kernel. Okay. Since this is a Red Hat Enterprise 6.6, look, it's called EL6 x86 64-bit. The kernel I'm going to use is 7.42. Okay, we go in there, we click on label as C file and click OK, and just click next. See, so this is all what we chose. It's just showing you a summary right now, and after this, when we click next, it's going to check all the tests. It's going to run the tests. So there you go, checking installation prerequisites. So look, everything looks fine. If there was some issue, either these boxes would have been yellow or red, but since everything is clear, my system is good to go. I will click on next. It will finish as completed. Everything's good. Click OK. We are done with the second part. Now we're gonna launch SWPM one more time using the same string before. And so the very first thing we did was install users and groups. Second thing we did a prerequisite check, and now we're gonna actually install NetWeaver 7.4. All right, we're gonna choose release 2, SAP HANA database, SAP systems, application server based on ABAP, and I am doing a standard installation where everything is on one machine. I could have done a distributed where my DB would have been, HANADB would have been on another machine, and my application would have been on some other machine, and my central instance would have been on some other machine. But anyway, I'm just doing standard installation. Okay, standard system, click next. Okay, on the very first screen, it wants to know what's your parameter mode. You want to do typical, you want to do custom. So what's the difference? I'll just give you a brief summary of it. Typical means when it's going to choose everything for you. It's going to assign it the instance number. It's going to assign the whatever number it wants to whatever system. But since this is my second installation. I already have a BH1 system on which my instance number is 01 on the same landscape. I don't want to install BH2 system with the same instance number on the same landscape, because then our router will have a problem opening up the connection from outside given to the same port for two systems, right? So at this point, I'm just going to choose custom. Click next. Okay, it's asking what is my SID ID. As before, I told you this is my BH2 system, and the SAP mount directly automatically picks up my SAP mount point, which I had created in Red Hat, right? Okay. Click next. This is your application set ID, right? Fully qualified domain name. FQDN stands for fully qualified domain name. Since I don't have fully qualified domain name configured on my Red Hat right now, so I'm just using the host file where I gave it the host name and IP address of my system. I don't need to do this right now, but in real life, you should do this. Okay, when you're on the job, when they will deliver you the system, it will have DNS configured on the system correctly. So you will choose this, and before this, see, it's gonna this is gonna get added in front of your host name. In my case, it is bw2 SAP HANA. Then it's gonna be .hst1.texas.comcast.net. Okay. Anyway, that's called a fully qualified domain name. So we're gonna go next. It's asking for my kernel again. I will give it my kernel from the software folder. It was under PI above. And then 7.42. Open that. Click on label SC file. Click OK and click next. It's asking for a master password. I will give it welcome123. Welcome123. Okay. Click next. This version is offering R3 mass loader. Disabled by default. Blah blah blah. It's just a warning. Just click OK. Move on. Okay. Over here, it's asking what SID ID you want to give to your tenant DB. So, for example, HDB is my main database for HANA, right? And BH2 is my application SID, which I assign to my application. So, and this SID is gonna become tenant DB underneath HDB. HDB is gonna be system DB, and this SID is gonna be my tenant DB name. So I'm just gonna call it the same thing, BH2. Okay. It's asking for my host name, BW2, SAP, HANA, instance number for HANADB. This is for the DB, which is 00. Remember that. Don't get confused. And it automatically picked up my previous password, which is welcome123. All right. So we'll click on that and move. Okay. This is at the system DB level. It has already picked up everything. It knows what the instance number is. It's asking for your super user password. We're going to give it the same password. Welcome123. Okay. And for some reason here, it already had picked up the password. See, tenant ID is BH2. Create database tenant. Yes, it's going to create the tenant with BH2 in there. I will show you this, what I mean, once I can log on to HANADB using my HANA Studio software. Okay, so all right, we're gonna move on next. Okay, we're just gonna, since I'm doing on the same server, everything on one machine, I'll just choose local client directory, whatever the default is. Okay, local client directory path is gonna be this SID, which in my case is gonna be BH2 and then HTTP client, right? So okay, click next. Click next. Sorry. This is asking for HANADB client. Remember the platform edition I showed you earlier in the software? We're gonna browse to that. Okay. Gonna go to software. We're gonna go to BI About Server. It's asking for this platform edition. Okay. And choose label.acs. ASC, sorry. Click OK. and click next. After that, it should ask for export, sorry, the exports for the NetWeaver 7.4, which are also in the same folder. Go to software, VI ABAP server, and here, this is the export we need, 7.4 SR2 installation export. We go in there, we click on label.asc file and click OK and next. Okay, it's gonna create the first database schema. In the database is gonna DBA cockpit, right? It took my previous passwords, everything looks good. Click next. It's gonna create an ABAP schema as well within the same DB. Picked up my same password as before, so click next. The installation will create a SAP HANA tenant database and blah blah. Just information is telling you what it's about to do. Everything looks good. Just click OK. So it picked up import parameters. It's index I, global INI, and INI. It picked up and it knows what the parameters are by default. 3 are checked. Leave them checked. Don't mess with it unless you're a professional. So click next. At this point, it's telling you number of parallel jobs assigned to the server is about going to be 12. It depends on how much memory and your system can handle. If this was an ECC system, it would only show 3 to 4 parallel jobs. SAP code pages. This. Click next. Okay, so here, remember when I did custom, now it's going to let me choose what instance number I wanted to give is to my PH2 system, right? So I am just gonna, so PAS is primary application server, ASCS is application central services. So I am gonna assign it O2, and I guess I can assign this O3. It already knows my uh, host name, right? My HANADB instance number is 00. Application server for BH2 system is gonna be has an instance number of 02, and central services will have 03. Okay, so we're gonna click on next. ABAP message server port, leave it at default. Internal ABAP message server port, leave it. Don't change the values. Click on next. It already picked up my password from previous, which is welcome123 for web ADM. That's Internet Communication Manager, just in case if you want to use a web GUI to access the system, right? But we're going to be using SAP GUI to access the system anyway. Click next. Okay. System landscape directory. For example, if I was to join the system later on with Solution Manager or a portal, Java portal, so Solution Manager and Java portal can configure the SLD during installation of Solution Manager and the portal. Same goes for the portal. So we don't need to do this right now. We can do it later on when we will be connecting the system to the Solution Manager, right? So just leave everything default and click next. Do not create message server access controls list. You can if you want to. I'm not gonna do it. It actually creates your SID global directory within your SAP mount directory. Okay, which is I remember in Red Hat I showed you my mount point SAP mount, but I'm not gonna do that right now, so it's okay. Click next. Okay, at this point, if I was doing a in a real if I was installing a system in a real environment where one was a development, other was QA and production system, then I would have chose individual key. But since this is my own test system, I'm gonna assign it a default key. So see, it's recommended for productive systems. Your productive systems are dev, QA, and production, right? But since this is just a test system, I'm just going to give it a default key. Okay, click next. So SAP System Archives, it knows where the archives are. It automatically picked them up, or it's going to create the destinations right there. It's going to drop all these files in these paths. Okay, for application. This is user SAP BH2. Everything under BH2 is application. All right, and the debug mebs, your message server, everything. All right, so we're gonna go next. Install diagnostics agent. You can if you want to. I'm not gonna do that right now. We can install it later on as well. Doesn't really matter. Okay, next. At this point, it brings you to the summary page where whatever options you have chosen before, it gives you a complete summary of that. Okay. Uh, you can modify if you decide to modify something from here. It will take you to that part to do the modification. But since I don't need to change anything, I'm just going to click on next. And this is where the installation just started. Okay. So depending on your system's processor, memory, hard drive, actually memory and the processor, it will depend how long it will take. Once this reaches this point, importing a BAP export, the exports we gave it, right? From here, it's going to take about 3.5 to 4 hours to finish. The installation is going to come all the way down to all of these stuff, finish through this, create DDA passwords and everything. And this is it. This was the installation of NetWeaver 7.4, which in the second video we are going to show how to make it a BI system by loading up the contents of BI, right? Okay. Uh, I'll pause this video and I'll show you once it's finished. I'll I'll show you the pop-up which says it is successful. And 5 hours later, if my system shuts off for some reason, not the installation system, the other system which I'm using to access my server, then I would let you know this is gonna pass successfully. You can actually watch the second video, part one of the post installation, where we're gonna show you that we are logging into the system and everything, right? So I guess we're gonna call it a day here, and I'm gonna stop the recording, and this is it.